So hello all, today we will make a wet on wet abstract painting, and some colors we are using are Scarlet Red, Prussian Blue, Cobalt Blue and Ochre Yellow. We'll be using a textured paper and a few brushes which I'll mention down below. So let's start first by wetting the whole paper with a large round brush. Use ample amount of water and spread it all around the paper. So we are using a textured paper. Now we're going to add some color. So I'm going to use the Scarlet Lake color and dab it onto the textured paper using a large round brush. You can see how the color bleeds into the area where there is the water, and this gives us a watercolor effect too. Now I want more water on my paper, so I'm going to use a fan brush and I'm going to dab it all around once again. Now I'll take some more Scarlet Lake and dab it onto the paper and let it bleed around, and try to block out areas where the paint can flow out. Now I'm going to use a fan brush, dip it in water, dab it a bit, and then go on to the next color, that is the Prussian Blue. You can see how beautifully the color bleeds into the water area. So you remember I used the fan brush to add in extra water. That's why this area, the bleed went on very good. You can see how the paint flows and the patterns that it creates. Now I'm using a medium flat brush, going onto the Cobalt Blue and adding it, dabbing it here and there to get a good effect. I'm going to add a bit into the red section also to break out the contrast. Now I'm going to play with the bristles and create a splatter design onto the textured paper. Now I'm going to use a fan brush and create designs. So just spread the paint all over your fan brush bristles. Make sure that it's covered completely, then just dab it on flat onto the surface. You can see how the bristles create a certain texture and certain pattern onto the paper. Next I'm using a palette knife. Again I'm going to use the edge of the palette knives and create streaks so that the colors intertwine together. You can see how the streaks add in quite a design onto the paper and create a quite blending. I'm going to use a little bit of ochre yellow and just play around with the palette knife using the edge of the palette knife to create straight lines and create contrast. Now using a tissue paper, I'm just going to dab out the excess water. This will also create a kind of pattern here and there. At the same time, remove the excess water. I'll continue once again with the palette knife, and this time I'll keep it flat on the surface and add in more paint and create an impasto technique. Now to create a little bit of contrast in the blue area, I'm going to use a little bit of Scarlet Lake and just put in small dabs here and there. So you can see how we can use the contrasting colors to bring out the beauty of each color. Now I'm getting back to the palette knife and playing around with the paint and the palette knife. The best part about abstract art is to let your hands go freely. Let it be not controlled by anything. Be playful. Try out different techniques. Try out different colors. Create a contrast. Now I'm getting back to the fan brush, but this time I'm just keeping the fan brush perpendicular onto the surface, and this creates quite a different pattern than the one which we saw earlier. So you can see how changing the angulations of the tools, you can get different patterns and strokes. Now I'm going to get back to the palette again and just play around. So coming on to finishing the painting, I'm just once again using all the tools that I have used. Like currently I'm using the palette knife to just do some finishing touches. Then I'll use my large round brush again to build up the contrast and keep up the beauty of the blue. Then going on to our fan brush, just giving a little bit more details here and there, and finally finish the painting. So these are the tools that I used, and there you have it, the final painting.